Hi there, I'm Monette Satterfield. This is my studio. I'm really glad you're here with me today. I am here in the country, and that's outside the velvet rope. And today I am going to be testing some foam stamps that I made a little bit earlier. I just want to remind you that I do film these live here in the studio, and I bring them to you completely unedited. So whatever you see happened here, whether it's a mistake or something fun, this is what happens here. These stamps, I actually made this one in a previous video, so I won't go over how I did that, but they are carved from foam. And what I'm doing with these is I'm getting ready to print my Christmas postcards. Every year, I like to make a set of Christmas postcards for a short list of people that I send them to. And this year in December, on the 7th, I'll be making them in an open studio. So today I'm testing the stamp that I made in that video, and then two more that I went ahead and made because they're really pretty fast and easy, and you never know. Sometimes they don't turn out like you think. But since they are so much easier to carve than a linoleum block, I can make more than one and test them out. I've got colors picked out here that I'm going to use for the actual cards more than likely, but first I'm going to test them with the gray. But I've got this quinacridone magenta, I love this color, and this color, which is light lime green. Love both of these colors. And then I've got a Payne's gray, which I also really love in this brand. Payne's gray is a funny color. Different brands have different colors of Payne's gray because it's not a straight pigment, it's a mix. Payne's gray is a mix of indigo blue and I believe Mars black. And so different brands will have different properties. I bought one time that skews so blue, couldn't use it. But I do like this one because it's not too blue, it's more gray. So I'm using it to start with just to test the stamp itself because, as I pointed out, these stamps, you can still adjust them. You can always add more lines or more cutouts to them. So a lot of times after I will get started on them, I'll have to adjust them a little bit. So I've got my Payne's gray. And I think I'll start with this trees and star design because it's in the Payne's gray, and I think it'd be pretty in the dark. So what I'm going to do is I have a brayer, and some paper towels. Lots and lots of paper towels. And these are, sort of recycled, so I don't feel so bad about using them, but I'm going to need them. And I've also got, let me get these out of the way. Okay. Oops, told you. And I've got over here a piece of plain white mixed media paper that I'm going to test stamp on. And I also have a large sheet of just roll off ephemeral paper that I use as blotter paper here because there's going to be a lot of paint rolling off. So the first thing to do is I've got my Payne's gray on this palette. And this is just a regular wax paper palette paper that you can buy them at any art supply store. They're super handy. So what I'm going to do is roll it out so that I have a film. Now, this is not like printmaking with ink. It's really not like that. And there's a lot of it that's similar, but it's not the same. So it's not as unforgiving in some ways, but in other ways you do have to be careful. One of the things is your open time on the paint. I probably should have added some glazing liquid to that. So what I'm doing is this is the first time I've used this stamp. It's going to get all over my hands. I promise you that. And I should have put an apron on. I'm going to fix that. Okay. So the first thing I do is just sort of get the stamp started with some paint. And then I just like to roll my paint out on this paper because I just love the way it looks. So what I'm going to do is put the stamp down in the film of paint, move it around a little bit, really get it covered with paint. It usually takes a try or two to really get the stamp ready. Even these foam stamps work a little better once they've been conditioned with some paint. So put it down. I have another brayer over here. This one's very old. This one belonged to my husband's father. It's probably from the 1930s or something like that. I don't use it for paint, but I do use it to help brayer the stamp down to kind of get the pressure across the top of it. Okay. Okay. Well, it's not It's by no means what I'm going to end up with, but that's not a bad first start. There's a lot of white space in there. I see that now. This feels like 2 pieces of paper. So I'm going to get my apron because acrylic paint means I'm going to get it on my clothes for sure. So let's put on the apron that's already got paint on it. Keep it off my clothes. There. Okay. So let me do this one again because I can see that I didn't get good paint coverage and I can see there's a little bit too much white. Having too much white is actually a bigger problem than not having enough. And I also want to put a little glazing liquid in this, which I should have to start with. All right. What I use to help increase the working time on the paint is acrylic glazing liquid. And it literally does what it says, is just a little bit. Okay. The lid came off. Wouldn't that be fun? Okay. All right. It appears to be stuck in the container. So, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do something that's probably semi-dangerous, but I'm just going to take and pour out a little bit from the actual container. I'll fix this in a minute. That's too much. It'll be all right. This is not rocket science. I have to tell you that, especially when you're stamping with paint and these imperfect stamps, it's just not rocket science. So what I have is some glazing liquid, and I'm going to put some more paint in that. And that's going to give me a lot more loose. The paint will be thinner and looser. And it'll also give me a good bit more open working time on it. I just put that across there just to help get it. And what I'm doing is I have a place or two on the stamp that just never picked up paint to start with. So I will make sure that gets rolled. You can do this 2 ways. You can do it like this. You can roll it on your stamp. But honestly, I find it's easier just to put it down in the paint film. And you can see there's starting to be paint everywhere. And that's going to happen. Okay. Now, one thing you do want to do is wipe your hands off before you go to stamp, or you'll get it on your actual stamping surface, which, you know, maybe that's the look you want. But since I'm going to be going for Christmas cards, I don't really want them to. Now, what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to turn this over and take my clean brayer and brayer the paper instead of the stamp, because it actually does work a little better that way. And that's why you keep your hands clean. Okay. Now, that turned out much better. You can see number 1 and number 2, very different. I see I got a little too much paint in the star. It kind of obscured some of my detail there, but that just tells me I had too much paint on the palette. The next stamp will be that much better. So what I'm going to do is, I'm running out of room. Can you tell? Put that there. Is I'm going to wipe some of that excess paint out of that little star design in the stamp, because you can see that it really was too thick, and it obscured my lines. Now, I could also, if I were feeling like I really, really needed it, I could add back some more lines into the design. I'm thinking it's not bad. I think I see what I want to do, but we'll get there. So I'm going to make another print just to see. I think this one's looking pretty good, though. I'm going to go ahead and thin that paint film back out. And remember, because I added glazing liquid, it's holding a lot better. Okay. Now I'm going to put it back down in there. Get it nice and covered with paint. And I will say that squishing it around like this and squishing it around like I did last time does smear the paint into your lines a little worse. So really up and down is a better motion, which I knew better, but I did it anyway. Okay, so there. My fingers off. These are baby wipes. I don't use them a lot, but I tell you what, there are times when a baby wipe is the best thing to get paint off of your hands, your tools, or even the surface of a painting if you're feeling like you want to distress it or rub something back out, or something happened and you want to take it back off really fast. Baby wipes really do a great job. So I have a container over there of them. Okay. I'm feeling really hopeful about this one. Let's find out, right? Okay. Oh yeah, now that I really like. Okay, there's the third one. And that is a pretty good rendition of a star and a forest. Now, I still feel like there's a little too much white in this section, which is going to be harder to fix, but I'm going to work on that in another step. But that is the first test of one carved foam stamp block that I hope to perhaps use as a Christmas card. Now, you could change the color of the background. I'm just using the Payne's Gray because I really like that color. But it would be really pretty if you did it in a variegation. You could do it in pink, you could do it in red, you could do it in any color you want. I think it might be pretty. Let's try one more. One more. Stick with me. I know we're getting long, but one more. I'm going to put another color out there and see if I can make this gradated. Let's just use white so we can see it in a gradation. I think I still have enough paint right here on this palette to give me a little bit of a gradation on it. I think that, well, let me put a little bit more gray out here. There we go. There we go. So what I've done is I've put a little bit of white and a little bit more gray on my palette. And what I'm going to do is roll it just one way, like this. You see how I'm getting it kind of bifurcated? That's the trick, is to keep it from there. Now, I guess dark on the top, light on the bottom. Isn't that what we would think? So, yeah, no. Yeah, dark on the top. So I'll just roll that across there once or twice. It looks like it's going to be mostly white. So I'm going to put this down like this. Again. Okay. Oh. I think we're going to end up with mostly white here. Again, things don't always go to plan, but let's find out how it looks. I forgot to wipe my fingers off. There we go. Okay, and then turn it over and brayer the back. Now I'm starting to get a few smudges on the paper here, which also happens when I do my Christmas postcards. They end up having little smudges on the back, a little here and there, but they're handmade. And I haven't had one person yet complain to me about the postcard that they got that had smudges on the back. And frankly, if they did, I wouldn't send them anymore. So, okay, yeah, that did not turn out quite like I expected. Basically, it's just a lighter gray. It's not bad. It's not ugly by any means, but it's not what I was aiming for. So I actually like this one a little better. So, but that is a great start. It taught me a lot about what I'm doing here. And I just want to point out before we go, what I'm doing over here on this roll-off sheet is I am literally just rolling my brayer off. And I absolutely love the way the blocks look with the brayer. And then I'll take a few more random stamps of this stamp just to use up that paint because, you know, hate to waste paint. So that is a great first start of one stamp. I've got a couple more to try out, and then I'm going to move on to doing them in color and maybe some variations of that. So thanks so much for being here with me. I really appreciate it. If you want to find out more about what I'm doing here in the studio or what's going on, be sure to sign up for my newsletter because I am not on any social media, and that is the best way to keep up with me. Thanks again. Talk to you soon.